is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 73. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E, a.k.a. Lee James, a.k.a. Sebastian Drew EC, a.k.a. Eastradamus, a.k.a. Pap E, O'Daniel, a.k.a. The Fashionista, a.k.a. Chili, Willie, a.k.a. Joe E, Chestnut, a.k.a. Eon, Stonkel. E, Sunday evening here. I am weary. I am tired, but I am in good spirits. How are you feeling, my friend?
About the same way. It was a long night. It was a fun night, but it was a long one, and definitely feeling the effects here today. But, man, what a game. What a time to be an Austin FC fan. You look at that table. It looks pretty. You know, we're just set up for success right now. I'm looking forward to talking about this game. It felt so good to be back at the stadium, see some old friends, meet some new friends. Shout out to Shane and Heather there.
Yeah, Shane and
But
Heather.
I've never felt more verified after Shane came up and hit us, and he was just I don't know what Irish or Scottish.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. I also don't know.
Mackie gets on me all the time whenever we screw. Like he was talking shit about you for you called somebody Irish, I think, who was Scottish, or vice versa. And I think when Shane came up to us, I was like, "Yo, are you Stephen Mackey?"
Yeah.
But it was great to meet Shane and Heather. And yeah, Stephen, you got to come by the North End at some point. But sorry, I cut you off there.
No, all good. Just to get to see them and be back and like all that was fun. It was great.
Yeah, and man, our buddy Vanilla Mexican ended up, he
That's right.
tagged us on Twitter, I think on Friday, said that he got tickets in the North End, and it turned out that he was literally 2 feet from us.
Yeah.
So that was awesome, getting to hang there. You see the North End Pirates down in row 4 or 5 doing their thing. And, the brothers, Stanley Stevens, were there, came, your buddies there.
Right. Yep.
So it was a party in the North End and at Q2. Austin FC 2-1 victory over Sporting KC, taking revenge on the team that demolished us 4-1 a little over a month ago. So let's go ahead and get into it here. And the lineup, not too many surprises, but we did get an update. The injury report came out earlier in the day, and Emiliano Rigoni was listed out with an MCL injury. So Josh did give a little bit of a timeline post-match and said that they're hoping it's right around 4 weeks. So I think just ruling out Emmy for the Leagues Cup break, and then hopefully having him back, in some capacity on August 20th when we travel to St. Louis. So that lineup, Gyasi was back in up top for Maxi Arruti, and Dani was back from suspension in there for Johan. The rest of the team, I believe, was the same in terms of the starters. Then off the bench, you had Johan, Rodney, Hector filling in that spot on the bench there in place of Rigoni. Maxi, Bersano, Sophie, Adam, Will, and then Brandon, Craig filling out the bench there. So thoughts on the lineup, or I guess winding the clock back to pre-match, any thoughts on the lineup?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, it's what we got right now, and it's what we're going to keep putting out there, and it's getting the job done. So I'm all for it. Always great to see Dani back in uniform with the green and black on, because he's just absolutely incredible. So yeah, I was for it. Looked like a good 11 for us to match this team's firepower, but they rotated, and I was thinking about that a little earlier today. This heat down here is going to become a bigger and bigger advantage for us as we press on here to the final stretch of the season. You look at what we did when we went to Vancouver. We got some in-game rest for guys because we don't like playing up there. So It's a big travel. It's on turf. And now you see this SKC team come here, and, you got to take measured approaches and understand where your club is currently at. And I feel like you're probably going to see if there's some stretches of the schedule where it's, you got your Wednesday, Saturdays. And if you're coming to play at Q2, you could see some heavy rotation from these teams here because it's going to be 110 degrees.
Yeah, no question. And I think what my first thought was when I saw the lineup is like I felt a little, I don't know if safe is the right word, but it's like it's making me feel I feel like the team is kind of falling into a groove here with like consistency. And obviously, like I think we went however many matches, like 18 to start the year without having the same starting 11 out there, even twice.
Yep.
And so now I know we've had some changes, like you mentioned, long week of games and travel. So there was some rotation and the in-game substitutions, but the team really hit its stride last year when we had the couple months in a row where it was just same 11, same 11, same 11. And so to see some of that consistency really starting to settle into this team, the Leagues Cup break, I think there's pros and cons to it. But I think that is maybe the drawback of it is like, I feel like we are legitimately finding our groove over the last 2 months, give or take. And so hopefully none of that momentum, wanes over the next month. And we'll have that, we'll preview that Leagues Cup match against Mazatlan on Wednesday's episode, back in studio on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. It's been a while. I think episode 50 was our last in studio episode. So let's go ahead and get into this match. And I don't know if you noticed this on the rewatch. I don't know if it was just my feed or what was going on.
Oh my God.
Okay. So you could hear it.
The audio?
You could hear the Spanish announcer.
You just can hear the Spanish
in
announcer
the same or up in the box with, and I didn't realize that Adrian Healy was on the call this week with Kobe Jones, his Apple TV partner there. But yeah, man, and it was really jarring, especially having the headphones in, listening to that. I was like, what is going on? And then finally figured it out. And you could hear him for sure when the goals were scored.
I thought I had like a different tab open. I was like, what's going on? Like, where is this coming from? And then I realized it's all in Spanish. There's a point where it just gets progressively louder and louder. Yeah. And then also like they're just picking up the megaphone guy, one of the capos in the fucking South End, the whole game. He's get the damn ball. Yeah. It's just like, yo, how is this happening with Apple?
Yeah. I can only imagine that if that did come through live, and that if you were watching at home or wherever, that it was pretty damn annoying while the game was going on. Third minute here, Austin controlled the first 20-25 minutes, but this was like it was one of Stuver's first touches of the match, and he's fucking around at the back, and one of those younger guys, I think this was their super draft pick this past year.
A
Frifa. Yeah, so Stuver like waits, and the young kid is charging at him, and he then he goes to boot it, and it bounces off a Frifa, and not really close to going into the net, but it certainly could have.
If it was, it could have.
7th minute. Here's where, it starts to go awry for Austin. And obviously we come out with the 3 points, but definitely not all positives from last night, because Dani gets fouled hard by Fontes and goes down. Yellow card given. I thought well deserved there. And Dani stays down, eventually gets back up, and then he goes down 2 more times over the next 4 or 5 minutes before being eventually subbed off. And in the stadium, we pulled up the Apple TV feed to try to get a closer look, because this happened down in the South End. I think the initial thing we thought was maybe a collarbone issue. Post-match, they called it a shoulder strain. I think the people who were watching at home and maybe a little bit more clear-eyed and less emotional than we were in the stands were saying looked like maybe it popped out. So any takes? I know, we both rewatched it here today. I don't think I've ever seen Dani in that much legitimate pain. Like, you could see it on his face. The guy was hurting.
Yeah, he was hurting. I can't believe Fountas didn't think that was a foul.
Yeah.
Like him arguing that, like, what are you doing there, man? It did not look good. And then obviously when I rewatched the game here on the Apple stream, you get to see in just how much pain he is actually in as he's down there, and they're looking at it, and he takes his shirt out a little bit. And I mean, I don't know what his fucking collarbone looks like normally.
Right.
But like there was like some protruding thing going on there. I don't know if it was an actual injury, but he was in some serious pain, and it just sucked because that play was so nasty too. Just absolutely torches that dude.
Yeah.
The change of speed, like incredible. But yeah, we need some news on that.
Yeah. And so, Josh did say post-match, he said it's a shoulder strain for now. We've got to get the pictures, MRI, what have you, x-rays, whatever they're going to do. And I would assume that the media gaggle there at press availability this week, assuming that there is some, I imagine they can hopefully they can pry a timeline out of Josh or someone else from the club. That free kick from the initial foul, after all that, is Diego takes it and finds Kip's head again, getting free in the box. The guy continues to be dangerous in the air over the last couple of games, and he put it just over the bar again. But like we said the last couple episodes, he's gonna get one at some point. But I think maybe you texted me when you were rewatching this afternoon, and I'm dealing with some summer league stuff, and you say, man, Kip should have scored that.
Yeah.
You think he can do better?
Yeah, I think he should have bagged that one. The guy who's contesting with him is much smaller. It was a great ball by Diego. Another fantastic piece by this club, set piece. But yeah, I thought he could have bagged that. I really do.
Yeah. So
especially because that keeper was small.
Yeah. Well, and Kendall McIntosh is, I believe, at the start of the season was SKC's third stringer. Because I think John Polskamp was, he was kind of their young up-and-coming prospect, got in for them a lot at the end of last season. And I'm pretty sure what had the job coming into this year. Obviously, we know SKC got what they do, 11 games to start the year without a win. I think 9, somewhere in that range. Tim Melia was playing the old. I think he's like 36, maybe older, veteran. And then now McIntosh has kind of grabbed a hold of this job as Melia, I believe, is out injured. But yeah, undersized for sure. Yeah. And so 13th minute, here comes Johan in for Dani. So, the game's still 0-0 at that point. We're not feeling great about that, especially because, it still could be this severe where we're thinking, man, he might be out months.
Yeah.
15th minute, Austin, and I was bitching early in the game about Kip and how he was not looking to the fucking left, because consistently you've got Gallagher and Diego and Seba. We've got our 3 best players all on this side, and Kip just was allergic at the beginning of the match to looking this way. So here in the 15th minute, they finally look to the left, get it out there. Gally with a nice little chip over the top to Diego. Diego gets into the offensive third, slows it up, and then Austin swings it back around to the right side. Julio with a nice pass, a long pass on the ground to Finlay, and Wolff is darting past him. Finlay plays him in. Owen crosses it into the box, and it's cleared out for a corner. That corner was played short, and Diego actually lost the handle, got it taken off his foot. But then it was good transition defense by him and by Austin as a whole. Ultimately, Diego catches up, kind of forces a tough angle for the cross, and Keller ultimately cuts it out. So it was that was kind of the beginning of Austin dominating the possession through the first 20, 25 minutes or so. That was the first time we really started to be threatening and really pick up the momentum that comes to fruition here in the 17th. Because I think this was the next possession after Austin won that back. Diego again on the left side of the box. He drops it to Gallagher, who has a ton of space and a ton of time to sit there and pick out Gyasi on the back post. And so it finds G's head. He heads it towards the net, and McIntosh makes the stop, but he spills it. And Zardes roofs the offensive rebound for the opening goal. His first career goal against Sporting KC, which is pretty wild considering how many goals this guy has scored and how long he has played in the Western Conference for a good bit of his career. Now 6 goals and 1 assist on the season, and all of those contributions have come over his last 10 appearances, 9 of those 10 appearances being starts. So the form continues for G and Austin off and running.
Yeah, this dude is scorching hot still. They talk about it briefly on the with the announcers there, and they talk about G's start to this season, and we've discussed it, plenty of times, but he just needs someone to be servicing him really great balls. And when he has that, he is going to finish and he is going to score. It's just, that's what he's going to do. If he is, if we're getting him an entry pass outside the 18 and expect him to go beat a guy and get a fucking shot off, that's not what his game is. Yeah. And this is specifically like why we targeted him, because he fits what we want to do. And just a pro move again, header down into the ground, makes the keeper spill it. He's on the cool, calm, and collected. And Seba was right there. So yeah, it was awesome. And it started early, and we thought it was going to be a real party.
Yeah. Well, and he needs somebody servicing him. I think that's a good way to put, how Gyasi, finds success.
Don't we all?
19th minute. Austin wins the ball back right after the restart, and progresses quickly down that left side again. Look, maybe I'm picking up on a couple soccer things here, Yves, at least seeing from that vantage point in the north end. Say, hey, let's go to the left side. It worked for the Zardes goal, and here another Gallagher to Diego, and then a cheeky clip over the top from Diego to Owen. Or at least it looked like it was target. Owen was the target there, but it drifts past him, kind of skips across the pitch, and Finlay just right place, right time here. One times it and bangs it home. McIntosh does get a touch, but it doesn't matter. Goes in past the near post into the back of the net. 2-0, quick succession. And Ethan hit that with his left too. Great goal.
Yep, absolutely. He's got a nose for it. We've been saying it. Everyone's been saying it. He knows how to put himself in advantageous situations. Buries it again. Keeper's undersized. He could have probably had a better attempt on that, but we'll take it.
Yeah, man. And look, the party was on at that point. Yeah. I know I was standing on my chair. We've got we had some newbies around us, I think, and they were very much down for the party. So yeah, all the good vibes at Q2 at that point. 7 minutes later here in the 26th, Kansas City finally getting some sustained possession here, because I think through the first 15 or so minutes it was like 81-19 Austin. Yeah. I think you commented that you had not seen a possession figure like that deep into it. 15 minutes is not super deep into a match, but it's a significant enough portion of the game. 80% possession is a lot. So KC trying to find some space here. The Austin defense is predictably, especially without Dani in there, packing it in a little bit at this point. Not resting on their laurels, not parking the bus, but trying to make it more congested back there. This is the first time KC really gets a look at all at the net, and it was a very clean look for Eric Tommy. A ton of space opened up in between Kip and Nick there, kind of on the left side, left center of our vantage point, right center from Eric Tommy's perspective, and he fires a shot, ton of velocity, but wide left, and really did not test Stuver. Stuver did not have a ton to do last night.
No, Tommy probably wants that one back. And a bit of a breakdown again on the defensive side of the ball there. We kind of just split, and leaves this dude an open rip, and fortunately put it wide. But yeah, that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, no question. 29th minute. Look, we're up 2-0, but we lost Dani, so like we're having a great time, but we're worried. And now number 10 takes a seat on the turf. We go to a hydration break here. But that was like, I think we definitely disputed the announcers on Wednesday saying that Seba had some sort of a knock and that it was like planned rotation. Like the planned rotation may have also been a factor, but it was confirmed after the match because Seba does not make it through this one, that he had some tightness, I imagine in the groin, but somewhere in his lower half, had some tightness because of the turf, what Coach Wolff said. And he said that flared up again tonight, I guess because of the short turnaround, but not subbed out here quite yet. But let's just go ahead and talk about this. Like, and I guess we don't need to really get into it too deep here, but like, does he really react this way to just playing on turf? Like, he gets injured just from running around on turf. And like, if that's the case, I would just like what is the medical diagnosis there? Because we have teams, again, we talk about it every time turf comes up, but like Vancouver guys play on it all season. I just don't understand what's going on there.
I don't know. I mean, it's his hamstring, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
When he finally comes out, he points to the back of his leg.
Okay.
And just points to it and just kind of like rubs it. I don't know. I really don't know if it's just a mental thing for him with the turf, or if like every time he steps on it, it actually goes pretty awry. But you see him go down, and it's not a party anymore. I'm pretty sure. Like I had texted after we had scored our second goal, I had texted a bunch of friends. It's a fucking parade.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh shit, parade is canceled, man.
Yeah.
Like this is not good right now.
Well, and so during that break, obviously could only hear this on the broadcast. Adrian Healy, I know it's just a slip of the tongue, but he calls the supporter section the North End. Come on, Adrian.
Yeah, what the hell, man? Well, I know. Trust me, I took note. I put a note for that one.
It's hurting the brand here.
Hurting us
Come
big
on,
time.
Adrian. And Adrian he's a North Ender.
I know.
He's frequently in 123 when he's off and in town. So come on, baby, you got to get it straight.
That was rough.
One of the greatest.
Drop his flop mob score.
Giving Mr. Healy a little bit of shit there. 33rd minute. Kansas City on the break here. No numbers for them, but they were able to get it. I think it was Shallowy able to get it off of Nick for a corner. That ensuing corner is launched towards the back post. And Danny Rosero heads it home. So we're 2-1 here. Julio was marking him, and my analysis here is he lost him because he was watching the ball, and then he ran into Redoya, who John was marking, and I just think it was a poor play by Julio, free opportunity there for Rosero, the goal scorer, and look, man, it was bad, and we get on everybody else for these mistakes that like lead directly to goals. This was one of them.
Yep. Poor would be pretty generous. It was a complete failure to do what he's supposed to be doing. Because I was in the bathroom when they scored at the stadium, but then on the rewatch, I got to see it, and I was just like, holy shit. What is he doing? Like, even he looks back and he sees him there, and he's like, what? And Stu's on the ground just fucking flabbergasted. Yeah. And I was just like, damn, yeah. Complete and utter failure. From the defensive standpoint. Julio mixes those in for us.
He's got a mistake in him every once in a while. We know that about Julio. And so 2-1, all is not lost here. Still got the lead, but a lot more. We're getting tight now. I think the party has been paused. Yeah, in the North End at least. The party never stops in the South End. We know that no matter what. 36th minute. Austin back on the attack here. John to Diego, and he chips it over the top to Seba. Then Seba and Diego play a little two-man game, kind of work their way into the 18. And they nearly take on and beat 4 SKC defenders. But Diego's final return pass to Seba, which would have definitely led to a shot attempt, barely gets deflected. But it's great. Again, that left side with those 3 guys, it looked fantastic in the time that they got together last night. And that's another great sign moving forward that 14-10, I mean, that was 2022-esque there, this play, even though it didn't result in a goal.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was great to watch. Diego baptized that poor man. Yeah. The initial dude just broke his ankles. Yeah. It was cheeky, tight quarters. Would have been a very difficult ball to squeeze through there. Almost does it. And, it was beautiful to see. It was nice to see.
41st minute here. Seba goes down again. So Rodney Redis does come on, gives the armband to Julio. That's one thing I missed last night is who got the armband. So a good reminder on the rewatch today. And then we were kind of wondering as it was, as the substitution is happening, how are we going to line up here? Diego ended up moving inside. You saw live and you saw on the rewatch, kind of the huddle taking place as Seba, takes his time, lets the guys adjust, lets the coaches kind of, figure out how we're going to attack this, at least in the half. So Diego moved inside. Rodney took over that left wing spot. Look, man, I don't expect everybody to do this every time, but for all the guff that the coaching staff and, of course, the head man, Josh, has gotten from the fan base this year, one thing you didn't hear on the Twitter Spaces or read on any social media outlet was credit to the coaching staff for making the adjustments to see this game out.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm not saying that they're these rocket scientists, future Hall of Fame coaches, or adjustments that were made by these coaches. But again, if we lose, everybody rushes to blame those guys. And look, man, the chips were down. And Josh we can talk about how he gave credit, of course, to the players for taking in that information. But again, it was a great team effort to hold on to this one for almost an hour after your best player goes down.
Total team effort. I think I texted a bunch of people, be like, strap in. This is about to be the longest second half of our season here. Then you see Polito come in, like they came for it, and it was just a complete total team victory, top to bottom. Coaching staff, everyone who subbed on when they're not, you know what I mean? You take 2 injuries in that first half, you got 1 sub window left. Guys got to adjust. So it was awesome to see that we actually were able to pull it out. But shit, I was quite nervous going into that second half without those 2 guys because, why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, of course. They have been our 2 best players this year. I guess maybe you can make an argument for Brad back there, but certainly in the outfield, right? Those guys been the 2 primary guys this season. A slight aside here, E. I know that today was the day that Inter Miami is introducing Messi at their stadium. There was a weather delay, so apparently that's just getting started now. Have to watch that a little bit later because I want to see. There's going to be some pageantry there for sure.
Yeah.
Before we got to the half here, Owen trying to clear a ball, and I think on the rewatch I couldn't see the full field. He tries to clear this ball, like this loose ball in the middle of the field. And I thought he actually could have maybe tried to touch it onto one of the other Austin players who were making a run. And Owen had one of his best games of the season last night. This was a time when I thought he maybe could have done better. Again, I couldn't see the back line completely, so I don't know if he really had a window or not. So he ends up trying to just clear this loose ball. And what was it? Radoya. I keep wanting to say Radoja, but at least Adrian Healy was pronouncing it Radoya. This clearance just bops Radoya right in the binger. You can hear the whole stadium just, oh! Credit to that guy for not just like going down completely in a heap. But yeah, man, it actually, so it deflects to SKC here, and they were able to kind of go on a little break and a quick cross to the middle of the 18, and Austin was able to clear that away. But, just something notable to close out the half there.
Yeah, he could have done better with that ball.
Yeah, for sure. So to start the half, like you mentioned, double change for SKC. Johnny Russell and Adam Polito come in for Giannis and Afrifa, which I think Afrifa is quickly becoming one of he's climbing the ranks in terms of my favorite names in the league. And we got a change as well. Maxi came on for Zardes. So what were your thoughts on those changes? Obviously, you already kind of spoke towards the KC ones. Not great, especially when the guys that we had to sub out in the first half, and now you're bringing on these all-star caliber guys. That did not feel great, but seeing Maxi come on at the half, 2 games in a row with halftime subs.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Then I thought about it a little more. I don't think it would have happened if we didn't have the 2 injuries. And I looked at you and I was like, okay, well, we're going to bring him in for the press and more of a defensive player at the 9 there instead of G. And he's going to have to run around and try to kick some balls loose for us or get us a turnover or something, because obviously we're going to be playing on the back foot here without 2 of our best guys. It just really highlights how we talked about, and everyone has, that this was a team win, and it was a big win. Like, this was a great way to close out our schedule here before Leagues Cup, and to get these 3 points down 2 of your best guys was just absolutely massive, and we held on. And that's why I think Maxi came in just more of a defensive-minded player back, or up front there. Yeah, I
think that makes sense to me. And as you mentioned, closing out kind of this segment of the season, 23 matches in now, essentially 2/3 of the way done. So yeah, I think the second third of the season, much better than the first third.
Absolutely.
So getting on it here into the second half, 51st minute, Owen Wolff receives a ball near the half line from Nick Lima, and he turns and just kind of glides into the final third, leading the break, gets it out to John Gallagher on the left. And Gally combines with Rodney and Diego. I think Rodney, obviously, not just a step back from having 10 out there, maybe 2 or 3 steps back. But I thought he held his own last night, kind of continuing his solid play that he's had this year, right? He's been fine.
He's been absolutely fine.
Yeah, he's doing his job, right?
Yes.
And so those guys combine, and Diego ends up kind of slipping a nifty pass through to John Gallagher, who was barely onside, had just gotten back past that final defender. John drives to that left side of the net, and he shoots, and McIntosh deflects it out, but it's bouncing kind of near the spot. And Owen Wolff winds up for the half volley, but then Voltaire kind of threw himself into the ball before Owen could connect with that, and it was going in if he did. I think he could have done better there to maybe with a headed chance. But I get what he was thinking in the moment. And I think he'll get better at chances like those as he continues to mature into his game.
Totally agree.
So 53rd here, you get Jake Davis a yellow for taking out Redis on the break, or did he? I think Rodney's going to get fined for simulation here. I don't know actually how stringent they are on that. I think that may take place more with flops like that in the box. But he did not get touched. Jake Davis was right. And so I would not be surprised to see that little press release sneak out at some point this week from the league that Rodney Redis is coughing up a little bit of last night's game check.
Whatever, baby. It's part of the game.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Doesn't come out of our pocket.
Well, I think maybe number 10 could cover any sort of fines for Rodney there, especially since he was, playing in his place there. We'll see. 57th minute, Gadi Kinda came in for Eric Tommy. So, Tommy, very, very talented player. Gadi Kinda in his own right, a grizzled vet, a very talented player here for SKC. It's kind of wild how many names they have on their team, just how inconsistent they've been over the last couple years. I know they're missing guys. You're missing, Willie Agata has been out for months, but still you would think that SKC could just be a little bit more consistent than they have been. But I guess credit to them. If they went 9, 10, 11 games at the start of the season without a win, now they're sitting on 26 points from 25 matches. It could be worse.
Absolutely.
59th minute here, you get just a tactical foul by Julio on that left sideline headed towards the south end. Polito got around him, and some hand fighting there too. They mentioned on the broadcast, Polito kind of had a hold of Julio as well. But I think just a smart foul to take away a breakaway opportunity. 66th minute here, Redoya goes out. Felipe Gutierrez comes in. And then a really long passage of play of Austin pressure here in the 68th. You get Austin building up out of the back. Stuver playing to Valencia in the middle of the field. And then Valencia makes a really nice long outlet on the ground to Lima out near the half line on the right. One of the, progressive pass from Johan Valencia.
Yeah.
My God. So the Lima charges all the way to the outside of the 18, and then he crosses from right to left, and just a little too far for an outstretched Rodney Redis to tap home. But then it goes from a goal kick here. Valencia wins it right back off the SKC player. I think that the broadcast was still showing the replay, and so you just kind of see Valencia taking the ball off this cat's foot, and he gets it to Diego, who's fouled 8 yards outside the 18. Diego takes that one. It goes straight into the wall. So we've seen better from 14 on his free kicks, but Austin stays in possession here. Lima puts in a cross from the right. That gets cleared out for a throw. And then Lima, Austin, they know what they're doing here. Lima taking his time, wiping off the ball, go get another ball, wipe that ball off.
Yep.
And then he takes his long throw, and that throw gets cleared, but Austin stays in possession again. They work it back to the left where Rodney wins a corner, and that corner is taken short. Then that gets crossed to the back post, right to Julio's head, heads it on frame. Unfortunately, right to McIntosh, so he saves it. And then he tries to start the break by rolling the ball out and rolls it a little bit too far I forget which player he was targeting here. Valencia steps into that passing lane. He takes it away again, gets it to Diego once more, and he finds a cutting Rodney Redis, who takes a shot, and it is just barely deflected by Kendall McIntosh, and it goes out for a corner. That was inches away from another Rodney Redis goal.
Absolutely, and we bled that clock right there too, with precision. It was great, man. We gritted this one out in the second half. You know, you get the really high of getting 2 goals back to back early in that first half, and then you have to make the adjustment to just finish this fucking game out and get 3 points. And we did that. We stayed aggressive in the second half as well as being disciplined, and that's excellent to see. You see a couple great buildups here, and then guys being stars in your role is what we need. And Johan in this situation was starring in his role without Dani in that space. And he did make some progressive passes, and he did make some good looks. And then he also brought to the table the things that he consistently has brought to the table throughout the entire duration of his career here with Austin FC, which is great on-ball pressure, physicality, and he's a defensive-minded guy, and he gets us a couple more possessions here, and we are just able to bleed this clock, and it was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And again, I also like to see that we're continuing to press. Like, one of those chances is cleared out. We're trying to win the ball back in their half. We're not just getting back, everybody get back. Let's pack it in. Okay, we had our little chance. Didn't work. Like, we're continuing to be aggressive. And I think maybe you don't see as much of that if it's on the road. But in our house, where you've got friendly, the friendly confines, I think we can afford to do that.
And I mean,
more.
Like we talked about with Maxi, I think that's the main reason why he came in. And then if you go look at the momentum tracker for this game on FOTMob in the second half, we killed it. We just shut it down. You have these giant peaks in the first half, and then in the second half is very subdued, pretty tame. And this is a great chance for us. And just our ability to be able to bleed that clock out and just get to the finish line was just like, it's always great to win 4-1, see some incredible goals, but sometimes just got to grit it out. And we did that, and it was awesome.
I mean, to your point here, having the momentum chart pulled up for those watching on the YouTube, a great point, I thought, because with no Seba, no Dani in there, and making the change, like you said, with Maxi, the fact that there are you see the 2 pretty big hills of SKC momentum there in the first half, nothing even coming anywhere close to that in the second half. I think just second everything you said there about how the guys battled and controlled the game. And controlling the game at times in the second half without the ball, because possession ends up 51-49 in favor of SKC. So they had a ton of the ball after that first, 20, 25 minutes or so.
Disciplined on defense, and that we didn't give them the looks that they wanted.
100%. Not a ton going on until like the 81st. They bring Daniel Shallowy off for Tim Leibold, who's a left back, and Adrian Healy noted that on the broadcast as well. So it was, I guess maybe just running out of guys to bring in there to try to make that final push. 3 minutes later, you see this was maybe not head scratching, but it was like, oh, okay. Will Bruin comes in for Diego Fagundes. And look, man, we know that Will's got 15, 20 minutes in those legs to really give us some effort. And he did. He's just, even with fresh legs, he's probably not as quick, as agile, anything like Diego, right?
I mean, look, he came in to be physical, to be a veteran, to know how to close this second half out. And we had it last year with Felipe. They're different, very differently sized humans. But that's what he's there for too. And so it was interesting, but it worked. And I don't know, it seems like it was an adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is not one I would have made, but I think Will, especially on the rewatch, like, he did his job. He was putting pressure on. And I guess let's just go ahead and get here, because 88th minute, this was my note here after these 4 minutes. Maxi and Will doing a great job of containing the SKC buildup at the top, and then also credit to off-screen, midfield, and backline, taking away any cheap downfield opportunities that Sporting may have had. So yeah, man, like, and if he won a ball, he got it off his foot to somebody else who, he kind of it's kind of that poacher striker role, like kind of how you see Gyasi. He doesn't need to carry that ball in the middle of the field. He's trying to get it to his wingers, his mids, and then he's running to his spot.
Mm-hmm.
So again, for the 10 minutes or so that he was on the pitch, I thought Will did just fine. So they're in that 88th minute. Finlay takes the ball off of Fontes after a heavy touch from the center back. And then they kind of go at it on that right side, and Finlay ends up getting around him. A little bit of a deflection, fortunate bounce when Fontes tried to take it off of him. Finlay squares it right to the spot for Rodney Redis, and Redis gets beat by just a split second, and SKC clears it. But another, I think, opportunity for Redney. I guess that's probably a good nickname for him after the Dallas match. But he's getting into good spots and being dangerous. And if maybe we're missing Seba, knock on wood, next Friday or at any point, we know Emmy's out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless he is moved, which still could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney's going to step back into a bigger role for this team once again. And he already did it for a sustained period earlier this season. So this period is off to a good start, and I hope he keeps it up.
I agree. I think that when you look at I keep trying to think back to these substitutions here, and the benefit of going Maxi and Will and having Rodney on that left side, and the way we were playing defensively with that midfield kind of pushed back, and we weren't asking those guys to push up the field a lot more. The initiation point for the defense was being set and established at the front with those two. Like you said, and the chances they put the pressure on tired center back legs in that heat, put the pressure on to kind of take away everything that they wanted to do. But to your point about Rodney, finding himself in really good situations. And that's great because once you start to get that down, you start to get to the results coming.
Yeah. Well, and that just builds your confidence too, right? Like if you're in the right side, that's going to show up on film. They're going to talk about it in the film room, on the practice pitch. So again, yeah, good stuff from the Lord last night. 90th minute, Julio goes down, cramping here, able to make it through stoppage time. There was 5 minutes of stoppage, and Peter Vermees not happy. It's like anytime there's stoppage over the last couple of weeks, like one of the coaching staff is irate. And to be honest, 5 seemed a little light, especially if we got 9 in Vancouver on Wednesday. I thought 6, maybe even 7 could have been appropriate, but we'll fucking take 5.
We'll take it.
First minute of stoppage here. Rodney, tough turnover for him off the restart after Julio gets back up. And Polito takes off with it down the right side. And Kip is there to meet him. And Kip wins the ball and clears it. It's just more good on-ball defense from Kip Keller, who I thought had a fantastic match last night.
I think he was fine. I wouldn't say fantastic. I think he was totally fine. We got to be able to get him to he has to have confidence in his left foot to go to that left side. Every time it makes him, he has to shift his hips. Every time he goes backwards, we lose. So I think he was all we could ask from him is exactly what he gave us. And I thought he was perfectly fine.
Yeah. And I think maybe for me, categorizing it as a fantastic game, maybe that's a little strong, but I'm just extremely happy that he got through another match especially after there was some question about this, the second goal on Wednesday, how much of a hand, did he play in that? I thought maybe your more measured approach is better, but I was really high on what we saw at a number 4 last night, stringing together performances where, like you said, you can build that confidence and continuing to get reps in this heat against very talented offensive players coming at you, fucking Wednesday and yesterday. Solid night from Kip.
Absolutely. And his fantastic game is coming, and I'll give it to him when it's
all right. I'm gonna hold you to it.
All right.
Third minute of stoppage here. Austin wins the ball in the SKC half, and Owen takes some nifty touches, leads a little 2-on-1, 2-on-1.5 break maybe with Maxi. And I thought the timing on the pass to Maxi was nice. But I don't think and I think they mentioned this on the broadcast, I don't think he presented himself as enough of a threat. it looked like he was just waiting for the moment to pass it to Maxey, and it looked like Rosero was able to read that a little bit. So if I'm maybe nitpicking there, but I did think that Healy and Jones were kind of right on top of that. I thought that was the kind of mimicked my feelings on the play when we watched it unfold right in front of us in the north end.
I think that's fair.
So the final whistle blows, a couple more, Brad laying on the ball when it rolls to him, things like that. It's how you bleed the clock. 2-1, 3 points at home. We don't care how it happens. We just needed the 3 and a very important 3 points for Austin FC. XG on the night, FOTMob's model here, 1.09 for Austin, 0.47 for Sporting KC. And the Rosero goal was 0.28 of that 0.47 XG. So again, highlighting how well Austin played last night and controlled the tempo and the pace of that game. 10 shots to 8 in favor of the good guys, 6 shots on target to 2 in favor of Austin. And 9 of those 10 shots were inside the box. And you look at the other side, only 2 of SKC's 8 shot attempts were inside the box. So it was not perfect, but I think a well-deserved 3 points. I think the right team came out on top in that one.
I agree. Few things to touch on. I don't know if we shouted out Ethan for the 300th cap the other day, but
no, we didn't. But yeah, go ahead.
Wanted to shout him out for that. Saw a great quote by him there, where he was really proud of this moment and that he worked his way back from an injury that obviously we weren't fans of the league then, whatever club he was with, and then to get to this point here in Austin, just congrats to him. Savvy ass guy out there on the pitch. Love watching him. In regard to number 10. Really hope he's okay. Hope that hammy is just some tightness. We still got to fix a little bit of the attitude stuff he's got going on here. I don't know where it's coming from. This man fucking hates turf.
Maybe it was just residual, because you mentioned it was what, like 5-6 minutes into the match.
Yeah.
You saw him throw his arms up at something.
Yeah.
Something that like his own team did.
Yeah, so he doesn't get a pass that he wants, or he's like directing somebody to pass it to the left and they don't, and he throws his hands up. Then there's another time where he's in the press and Finlay doesn't press with him and he throws his hands up, and then Diego does it and he throws his hands up. And I was just like, damn, bro. Like, we need you to be in a better headspace out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So hope that's okay. Shout out to Kippy again for another good, solid game. Keep building with that, and just a good fucking win, man. And if you had to take a game where 10 and 6 get hurt, this is probably your number one choice with the break coming up. So it's all about navigating what we're going to do as a club, what we want to prioritize, and we'll have opinions on that.
Yeah, so just a couple notes, some quotes, I guess, from the post-game press conference with Coach. He said about the guys, they suffered and sacrificed, and they showed that they're ready to succeed. Of course, some of the things that changed in the game forced us to adjust a little bit, but the guys took on the information. We gave up very little in the second half. He touched on some of the injuries. He said we have to figure out what's up with Dani and Seba, and I think Phil also asked him about Emmy. He said, you mentioned Emmy, it's an MCL sprain, 4 weeks. For Dani, it's a shoulder sprain right now. We have to get the pictures to have a better idea and assessment. Seba is mostly precautionary. He said the turf has a way of affecting Seba. We've tried to minimize and limit his time. Tightness the other night. Tightness came back in tonight. Alex has been training on his own, so he's getting closer. Obviously, we've got big guys looking like they're going to be out, so we've got to find ways to push forward. If we can just, unresponsibly speculate on these injury timelines, we're going to do it. So let's do it now. What do you think we see from Dani, from Seba? Because I'll say I can start with Seba. I think there's a chance he's out there on Friday against Mazatlan.
I would give him the best chance of the two.
Yeah, for sure.
Dani's situation, you land on that again. you could really have some sort of setback. I don't even know how bad it is. We don't know the extent at this point. But yeah, I would give Seba.
Depends what it is, right? Like
right now, I would put Seba as more likely to be available for versus Mazatlan.
Yeah. And then obviously Emmy going to be out. It looks like the entire Leagues Cup break. And with Alex, man, I mean, again, just kind of a broken record here, I guess. Like we know he's like legitimately having issues with his groin. But how much of that is that they're trying to move on from him in the remaining 17 days of this window or something going on there. So just something to keep watching. Nothing new to report. Josh continued talking about the guys, how proud he was of the group. He says the spoils go to the group because that's what this group is about. It's a collective, and they find ways to grind and fight. It was awesome. The human spirit was awesome to watch tonight. He said that Owen got the game ball in the locker room tonight. I know there was a lot of love for Owen on the timeline, which was great to see. Because again, he had a very good game. I think you could argue it was maybe his best game from a skill standpoint in an Austin uniform. Obviously, he scored, he's assisted in the past, and not on the score sheet tonight. But yeah, a very solid game from him. I think some of that stuff, like maybe it's easier to see when Seba and Dani are out because it allows him to play more of a role in that midfield and kind of command things. But I watching it live, man, like I thought he looked good, but I didn't think he looked so much better than we see him night to night. I know he's been down a little bit lately for what you and I expect of him. But man, yeah, I mean, kid's fucking good. He's 18. He's want to keep him around. Obviously, we said a couple episodes ago, I think, that maybe he needs to get out because people just can't get over the name on the back of his jersey. But I don't know, man. I'm glad he's on our team for now.
Yeah, he really stepped up when we needed him to. And again, starring in your role. We don't ask him to go out there and score multiple goals a game for us. Like that's not what he does. He gets back in transition defense. He stops the ball. He assesses where threats are coming from. He played a great game. He's heady. He's smart. He's 18. He's only going to get better.
Yeah, no question. Josh talked a little bit more about, I think somebody, I don't know who brought up the possession, but kind of noting that Austin technically lost the possession 49% and came out with the win. And Josh kind of dove into a little bit more about the things that they look at. He's hinted at before is like, we don't just use these surface level statistics to judge how we are doing. He said there's metrics that are very specific for our team. It's not just about possession and shots, but breaking the last line. How often you can arrive in the red zone. That was interesting terminology for soccer. How often you can arrive in the red zone with the numbers. How often do you have first contact in that area, which stresses the opponent more and more. These are the things that we continue to try and work on and talk about. So I really enjoyed just like the little window into some of the things that they're looking at. And maybe some of the things that, guys like you and I don't think about inherently just watching a soccer match.
Yeah, no, I would love to see those numbers.
Yeah,
that sounds great. Like some cool shit.
Yeah, and he also kind of talked about the, a little bit about the transfer window, what we're looking at right now. It kind of started with a question about Brandon Craig. He said, Brandon he's one little injury away at this point. Talking, in terms of playing big minutes, he says Brandon has huge upside. He's a very good center back with the ball. He hasn't played a game in this league yet, so we want to be mindful of that in how we introduce him. I expect him to play going forward, potentially in Leagues Cup, so maybe we see Craig get out there on Friday. He said we got to see who we have healthy and what we have coming in the transfer window. We plan to utilize him, and then kind of pressed further on that transfer window talk. He said center back, and we don't have a lot of money, so that makes it challenging. And so I saw people kind of taking that quote and saying, well, that's a weird thing to say. Like, is that a negotiation tactic? What have you? My first read was he's talking about the salary cap. Yeah. We've seen our salaries. We know we're paying over $1.5 million for Gyasi and Maxi combined. We've got Romagna on the books. We've got this, and we've got some tough contracts on the eating up that cap space. And so he actually did point to that in the quote. He was like, yeah, we're talking about salary cap here. He says, that's the difficulty with the situation. So we got to evaluate what we can do, what we can pull in, and the future. You may need to move players in order to make some cap space. So there's lots of things we have to try to do. The biggest thing we can do better in this window, but also set ourselves up to be able to do things in the next transfer window. We're very mindful of that, and it's never easy this time of year. And so for me too, it is a very notable departure from plates are spinning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the easiest thing to point to is the potential. Like maybe they had that deal for Rodney. You and I both think they had something going that was almost to the finish line, and then for whatever reason fell apart. But it does seem like they're still trying very hard, at least to bring in a center back. But again, we are constrained by the salary cap. That is just how this league goes.
Yeah, it's tough. And, we talked about it earlier where it's like we just got Rodolfo in, and it's like, are we going to make a push here in this transfer window and potentially take on some money that could hamper us down the road to try to make a push here for this MLS Cup? I mean, like, let's at this point, we've moved past just getting into the playoffs. Like we want to go compete. And I think that this club deserves a fair chance at that. And that includes getting a talent infusion somewhere on this roster. I don't know if it's center back. I don't know if it's up front, wherever it may be. There needs to be better players on this team. And we need to have more depth to even try to navigate a season that we're now in where this is our third cup, right?
Yeah.
Like that's tough. So I think he's choosing his words wisely. I also was one of the people who was like, that's a lot less confident in than his past statements of where we got two options outside the league. We got two options inside the league. We're looking all over the place. But I'd imagine, he's going to keep getting these questions until somebody eventually comes in. So he has to answer it different ways. You can Marshawn Lynch it every time, but people are just going to hate you. So I'm still hopeful and I'm still confident that we're bringing somebody in, and I'm still confident that it's going to be a name. I don't know the name, but I am confident that is coming. And, as we move into the Leagues Cup here, it's going to be interesting how we navigate this roster right now, how we navigate these injuries. I mean, you'd want to be getting Julio some rest if Craig's ready to roll. And again, is he ready to roll? He hasn't played a single MLS game. So and then he's paired with Kip, so it's like, there's a lot of youth back there, but it's like, is it more valuable to the club long-term to be like, Julio, we need you to rest here. And what happens. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, if there's any sort of lingering shit going on with Seba's hammy, you can't play him.
No, yeah, you said him. You
fucking cannot play him, and I don't want to hear it from people that like we don't have a winning mentality. That's not the fucking case.
Yeah,
that is not the case. Do you want to have your best 11 players available every time you go out on the pitch and be able to go out there full tilt and win the game? Yeah, that's great. But this is a 34-game season with 3 cups that we're in. You have to navigate it how it comes. We can't just have the Mamba mentality, and it's like, which is just a facade. So it's like you have to be able to navigate these things properly. And I think personally, with the injuries, you can't risk Seba. You can't risk him here.
Yeah,
you really can't. So
if the trainers write the metrics, because they measure all kinds of stuff that we don't have any clue about, if they say he's 100% ready to go, we'll see him. I think this team is still, they're going to go after these games with whoever's available.
Exactly. Yes.
We're gonna be mindful of guys who need rest, who are, again, maybe playing at 85% and pushing through these last couple league matches that we've had. So I do think we're going to see some rotation. Some of those guys who don't typically get into that 11 will probably show up in a starting lineup in one of these 2 group stage matches, if not both. But I have no doubt that whoever is out there, this team, we're going to go in trying to win this game. This team, they're competitors. And we have no other league matches. And then, we'll see where the chips fall if we're into the knockout stage or not. And I think I say this now, after 2 matches at Q2, I may feel differently, but whether we win the group or not, I think I'm going to be happy because if we're moving on, we got some knockout games. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good experience for our guys. Again, that's a playoff type atmosphere, right? In terms of the stakes. And if we don't, then all right, okay, great. 3 weeks off. We're getting ready to go and whoop St. Louis City's ass on August 20th.
Thanks.
So certainly, looking forward to that. And we'll discuss more about Mazatlan on Wednesday. It is the first time in Austin FC's history that they've won 3 straight home matches. So that is awesome to see. It's been a great 3 matches. the Dallas blowout, Houston blowout, and then holding on in that fashion last night. And then courtesy of Apple TV, Austin 5-0-1 when leading at halftime this season, 0-4-1 when trailing. So not super surprising there, especially with the numbers behind us scoring first or conceding first. But just another stat to roll around in your brain there. Like I said, we'll preview Mazatlan on Wednesday in the studio. Just over an hour here on episode 73. We do have just a couple things. Austin headed into the League's Cup break. We're checking the sports books on DraftKings. Austin has moved into the top 10 in terms of the odds to win the MLS Cup this season. So I don't necessarily agree with these odds. Like I think I would probably put Real Salt Lake above us right now. They are 3,500, plus 3,500. Austin plus 2,200. FC Cincinnati, rightfully the favorites there, plus 400, followed by LAFC, Philly, and New England. You get St. Louis City at plus 1,100. Who would have thought? And then we do have a line on Friday's match. Austin FC opening as minus 130 favorites at home next Friday. The draw is plus 265 and Mazatlan plus 320. So we'll keep an eye on those odds. I mean, I think Kevin Trahan on Twitter kind of chimed in and was like, Vegas thinks Seba is playing, don't they? Minus 130 certainly points to that. I don't care which Liga MX team is coming in here. So we'll see on that. But if you are so inclined, and we'll recap the bets. Had a good weekend, but we'll recap the bets in studio on Wednesday. We'll talk best ball, all that nonsense, Mazatlan preview, and some other fun stuff as well. And shit, maybe we'll have some transfer news to talk about on Wednesday too. That would be fun. Anything else for you, E, before we get out of here?
Oh, this is interesting, right? An hour here, it feels like, we're in college, going home, Christmas break, class is a little shorter. So yeah, no, I'm a happy guy. Plenty of hugs to go around last night after a great win, great team effort. And I texted a couple boys today, says, man, I fucking love this team, man. Doing the rewatch and just like watching Dani out the gate and just like, man, fucking love this team. So, definitely a happy guy heading into this little break here. We'll figure out this Leagues Cup shit, and we press on, baby. We keep going. We
move. That'll do it for episode 73 of the North End podcast. And if you're still with us, we appreciate it. If you've got 5 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the pod, wherever you get your podcasts, we would love you just that little bit more. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, right? Help us grow the channel. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. We will be back on Wednesday in studio, previewing Austin FC's first ever Leagues Cup match against Mazatlan FC. Talking some transfer rumors, news, looking around the league, and of course the typical nonsense. So we're excited to see you all then. Hope you enjoy the beginning of your week. We know it's going to be a good one because Austin FC is on the come up, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you back here midweek. Until then, he's E. I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.